Okay, well, let me talk about the situation at the Ivy League universities first. The question, broadly speaking, covers a question about intelligence and about its diverse manifestations and about its role in selection for universities. If you go back and look at the records at Harvard, for example, in the early 1960s, the typical IQ for a Harvard student was about 105 to 110, not much above average, but that's because they were finishing schools for the rich, roughly speaking. And you know, if you had a rich father and he made his money, he was probably well above average in intelligence. But if you were his offspring, there's regression towards the mean, so there's no reason to assume that by nature of your position you were going to be particularly intelligent. Anyways, the average Ivy League student was bright, but not outstandingly so. Now it's like IQ of 145. It's 3 standard deviations above the mean. Because the reason for that is because they're selected by the SAT, Scholastic Aptitude Test. It's an IQ test. They won't say it's an IQ test, but that doesn't matter. It isn't it's an IQ test. It's as simple as that. Any test that contains a sufficiently diverse range of problem-solving questions that's rank ordered in accuracy among people is an IQ test. The correlation's like 0.85. So, and what has happened, there's 2 things that have happened. I mean, the Ivy Leagues have got more and more selective because they can, and so the average IQ of their students has just continued to move upwards. And then the average IQ of the population has actually increased to a substantive degree too over the last 50 years, partly, perhaps mostly, because of improved nutrition and information exposure among the more deprived members of the culture. It's better to watch TV than to sit alone in your crib, for example, and isolated. And people have enough food now, so the really low end of the intelligence spectrum has been truncated and the general population IQ has increased. So with regards to institutions like the University of Toronto, say, the average IQ at the University of Toronto was somewhere between 120 and 130. And we know that because we've tested it. And it's not surprising because you're basically selected for cognitive prowess, right? Because grades are a rough marker of intelligence. Conscientiousness, by the way, also matters. Independent trait. Because the best 2 predictors of university grades are conscientiousness and intelligence. Not creativity, by the way. 0 correlation with creativity.